Good evening and welcome to Hang Out in the Crib with your crib crew and some special guests. We have our usual gang, Hefe, Daniel, and myself.
Hi, everyone.
And we have two Kixeye employees. We have Aerospecs and Major Rampage.
Howdy, howdy.
How you guys doing?
And one Kixeye mascot. So our guest time is limited. Our guest time is limited, so I won't do the usual beer introduction, but I'll talk later because it's a pretty exciting one. And we'll start the slides and give our guests the full time to talk. So I am sharing our screen, and today we're going to talk raid stuff and some OP stuff and some bounty stuff. So let's start with the raid, steel curtain, and the prizes.
There we go. We go from the old art to the new art.
Yeah. Yeah, we had to update the art on that one.
I love the art.
Yeah. How do you want to do this? You want to ask questions? You want to talk? How do you want me to talk? How do you want to do this part?
Well, we see the Fangtooth as the new hull, and it's a new skirmish hull. It's a sub that doesn't surface. So why don't you go from there?
All right. So the big things to think about with the Fangtooth, I'll give some tips. First and foremost, does not surface does not mean safe. Does not surface means you have an opportunity to sneak up on things. However, you're going to find some of the targets have plenty of thermal. So we did that on purpose because what we really want you to do is kite these suckers and use your dread aura to knock these guys down to size. So you will be detected in the Fangtooth. You shouldn't panic. You have weapons that will outrange just about anything except for the big mortars you'll see in the new targets. So what that means is your job is to find the right range, and if you can outrange them, great. If you can't, Dread Aura will help you get out of trouble because it slows the enemy and it also lowers their reload time.
And that aura looks pretty badass.
The aura, every so often we're just like, hey, Art, can you do a thing? And then they come back and we're like, holy crap. And that was the Dread Aura. We gave them the instructions of draw Dread for us, which is kind of
yeah.
Okay, so
I agree. I thought the Dread Aura looked great. It was sort of interesting, though. You guys had a closed preview. I think we can at least say that you had one. And it was a sub, but a lot of the time it didn't feel like I was driving a sub because it didn't have that surface submerge cycle, and I wasn't hidden all that often. I mean, yeah. So what do you think about that?
Did you have something to say about that, Daniel, real quick? I saw you pop up. Okay, so to answer that question, that was a deliberate design choice. What we know is there is a population of very passionate sub-drivers out there, but what we also know is it's a pretty small population, and we're going to find a way to get them that gameplay elsewhere. It was pretty important to us for various reasons to do a sub, and partly to continue the submerged line of weapons and components, but also to give them better room to be used in a way that isn't as punishing. So the key to the Fangtooth is we're hoping that you guys will find it not terribly punishing to make mistakes. We had some feedback from the closed preview that we're talking about now, which is fine. And that was about the punishing thing. That was kind of important to us because the Fangtooth should never feel punishing.
Okay.
But on the other hand, it's not a porpoise going up and down all the time, so that's a different gameplay than what you're used to with subs.
So you're talking about a more broader appeal to it.
Yeah, the idea there is trying to make sure that more players can have a good sub experience this time.
Cool.
So the last sub was Hellwraith?
Hellwraith, yeah.
So what's one of the things that, like, if that was not quite your cup of tea, don't write off the Fangtooth because this is designed to have a sort of a more ship-like experience.
Yep. So Larry, with that said, was that a big turnoff for you?
No, it wasn't. It was just different. You know, and I think when I hear you explain it, you want to sub without necessarily feeling like a sub. I think, yeah, I think you did kind of hit that mark. It's an interesting choice now that I hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering how is this different from the ghost crawler? Yeah.
Part of it is the target design. So with the targets that we're using, the way we do targets now compared to when the Ghost Crawler came out is we designed the targets in parallel with the holes that are intended to go in them. And so the Ghost Crawler, for better or for worse, had a very specific role, and it did it and only it well. We believe that subs can do a lot more than just sneak up on things. And so we provided basically 3 levels of gameplay for this sub. The approach, which is hidden, though cavitation fields will surface you and mess up your day. And the interesting bit where you have long range, but you have a shorter range dread, and where you want to do the fighting for that. So, and we can only make that happen if the targets actually force you to do all those things.
I have 2 questions associated with this haul. One, you mentioned that the targets would have thermal, but also would they also have sonar?
Yep.
Okay.
That is true. So you will be detected. You will absolutely be detected when you are relatively far from the from where you can shoot. That is intended, and so the key there is understanding the difference between being detected and being fired upon, and it's ranging.
Okay. And the second question is, how did you guys play with this as far as it relates to the PvP game, as far as the open water fights? Because this seems like now everybody's got a ghost crawlery type of thing out there, and everybody's going to want to show it off for some period of time. And I'm just wondering how that was factored in there, especially, it doesn't surface, so you just sort of got to follow where, and it's pretty fast. With a 30 combat speed, and you throw Magnus 2 on that, you're over 60, and there's so many things that would never catch it. And it does a lot of damage. I'm just thinking of people using this to snipe people coming out of base hits, or the people that want to snipe people out of just hitting a tower, hitting their time-limited campaign, and how this factors into that, and what you guys, how you guys looked at that.
That's actually a good question. So we run every PvE ship through PvP combat quite a bit, just to make sure that it isn't going to be a monster. Well, there'll be a monster, but maybe, but that there's a solvable problem there. 2 things about the Fangtooth. Getting surfaced against your will, like a cavitation field, is bad, really bad for this hull. And then the other part of it is there's a second hull, the auto hull, that we haven't revealed. And wouldn't it be interesting if it was also pretty good at fighting Fangtooths? So that's your hint. And it's I don't know have we revealed what it is yet?
We have not.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off on that. Sorry, guys.
Okay. That's great.
We gotta have something to talk about later.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks. All right, let's keep rolling, if that's all right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, please.
All right, so we got a new torpedo, the Delirium, 6.5-hour build time, which is in the neighborhood of a lot of weapons we've seen lately. A lot of surface damage, but not much submerged, or no submerged damage, and essentially no wall or building damage. So this is really an anti-ship only torpedo.
Yes, it is.
Anything else you want to say about this? We don't have to talk for a huge amount of time about it. But.
No, but I do want to bring up Psychotic Break.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Psychotic Break. By the way, the naming on this whole thing has been hilarious. The conversations we've had over those 2 words is the whole time I'm like, I didn't name this thing, but I love this name. We're doing this. So the Psychotic Break is literally, if you can get someone into dread, each torpedo has about, what is it, like 1/3% chance of there it is, of triggering Psychotic Break. Psychotic break literally is a weapon stun, is what it is. So like, don't get too twisted on the name. What's going on is if you can make that proc, it will shut down their weapons for 3 seconds, which is a big damage saver, and we definitely took that into account when we tuned these. So that's the big one for the Delirium torpedo. We can move on from here.
Okay, well, I did have one question on this.
Sure.
The fact that the wall damage is 17 sort of implies that somebody's going to start putting walls underwater, right?
I wouldn't get. I see where this is going. Okay. We did this because the first version of October's targets had surface, those little surface towers that we use, the sonar towers that we use. We had a bunch of those, and the Delirium originally couldn't really fight them. So we put in some wall and building damage to ensure that if we choose, we ended up taking them out. But if we choose to have something that's more building-esque in a skirmish target, that it can actually fight it. But yeah, that was why those numbers are there. I'm not 100% sure at the tuning of 17, but that's not a number that if you change it by a couple is going to do anything.
It's not like the universe and everything.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah, I just found it odd that there was something that can only hit underwater, but yet it has wall damage. I can understand building damage, but we haven't seen underwater walls yet. That's why.
So wait a minute, Hefe, it's only hitting surface, not underwater.
Yes.
So
Okay.
So this is going to be useless against subs. Just
Okay.
be real clear.
Okay, so sort of like the mayhem.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, yes. That was what we used as our everything we do. We're like, what is this an escalation of, or what is it like? Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's go on to the special. Advanced torpedo tubes increases reload or decreases your reload time and increases your damage. I guess the only thing I see about this, it looks like a great special, but really long build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got us. It is a good special, and in fact, it was a worse special before we did our final tuning because of the time. The time was set. We have certain goals that we're trying to reach for these things, and so the time was set.
I think the video actually has the old stats in it.
It does. It does have the old stats in it. We will. On the other hand, if we can't tune these things up at the last minute to save the day, I don't think we're doing our job.
I
right?
think we're always better off having a video that's got a little bit out of date and have a good item go out the door, which I think is awesome to say.
Yeah. So the specific answer is yeah, it is a long build time. You got us. We've actually escalated this thing twice in our tuning to make sure that it's worth your while.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if the build times in the preview were going to stick. I mean, my build time without charged armor on that Fangtooth was about 14 days each. So with the charged, it starts getting a little long again, but.
Charged armor, that's a whole conversation we could have. Maybe we should. Maybe we should just come on the show and talk about charged armor sometime. Because we go back and forth. So first off, charged armor was intended to be purely a luxury item. Obviously, people don't consider it that. I completely understand why. And that was one of those things where we were like, this is a really cool thing. We want to keep it limited, and we want to keep the distribution tight. But it was just too good, and so we needed to loosen up the distribution. Now, on the other hand, because we do not take charged armor into account when we do our official tuning, we obviously test with them. We have to keep the high price on them, or else we're kind of doing damage to ourselves on our plan. So that's what's going on with that.
All right. Anything else you want to say about these or charged armor, guys?
Nope. That's what they are.
Okay. All right. Speaking of charged armor, so this is really, I guess, no surprise, right? It's same weight and defense percentage, and it's got a pool of charge, and the build time is in line with what we've seen before. So here we are.
Yep. The designer who did this one was the same designer who did the Fangtooth and the weapon special, and that designer was concerned that they weren't going to have enough time to tune this, and I'm like, that sounds bad because we have a formula for these things, and this should follow the formula. In fact, you could reverse engineer how we tune these now because we've shipped enough of them. But yeah, like you said, it is extremely standard charged armor. It's just plugging the hole that would be in your quarter 4 targets, which is concussive damage. So we need to plug that hole.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Yeah. We also have 10. Okay, go ahead.
No,
No,
10. Yeah, you can.
Well, yeah, we can also get 10 on the X armor, which is the other main armor, the charged armor that people are going to want for this raid cycle. And they were nice enough to give us 5 with defensive arts. So, which I thought was a good move, personally. You know, but you're gonna have to get. You can get 10, and then you can get 10 of the explosive. You can only get 5, I think, of the M, but the M is sort of its day has passed.
It has, but it will come again.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Well, let me ask this, and maybe you can answer, maybe you can't. But I mean, when these raid cycles come around in a year, are these same charged armors going to be useful again, or are we going to have new ones?
Are we going to have C2?
Yeah. Well, so we plan, right? We have a bunch of C2 plans, yeah.
Okay.
But again, on the other hand, we have a lot of other things planned. One of the things that you're going to be seeing a lot more of is tier 6 escalations of old school components, and that's because we could pull a lot of these levers. And while it may not seem like we have a plan, the basic general plan is when we move into a quarter, we want to make sure we provide certain things. We want to make sure we provide specials you need to do some complexity, armor you need, and new hulls and weapons with them. And so with the charged armor, I think you're going to continue to find value in 2018. There's no way we're talking about the tier 7 escalation where these would be useless. There's no plan like that.
Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So skirmish, yeah, we saw some of this in the raid video.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I said nice shot of the dread.
He loves the little Cthulhu-like tentacles moving around.
That's cool.
Yeah, it looks great. When you got 1 or when you got 5, it really does. So what you saw in these targets were, maybe I'll just kind of break it down. We had gluttonies that were firing these mortars that were you had to kind of outrun and dodge. They would sort of fire along a line, so running away wasn't always the best choice. You sort of wanted to get out of that line. Mm-hmm. And then we had these other ships. You had the Goblin Sharks, and then the Dagger Tooths. Is that the right name for them?
Yeah, those are Dagger Tooths.
Yeah. And so these are the ones that you were kind of alluding to earlier that had some really long-range thermal on them. Mm-hmm. So they'd see you, and then they'd trigger, and you'd have to kite them. And it was tough. Mm-hmm. The Goblin Sharks would go berserk and close in on you and fire some splash weapons that would really mess you up. So, the preview was cool. And I know the first time the Scourge came around, they were, I'll say, overtuned. They were really tough for a lot of players, although I thought the whole cycle was pretty enjoyable, and even though a lot of players didn't. I'm hoping for some good skirmish combat with this cycle.
We're hoping that this using the Scourge stuff this cycle will get what we want, because the open water combat cycle is a rough one for us to design for, because like all the easy tricks, like think about every assault, siege, and garrison target you fought, those clusters of turrets, and that's a pretty easy thing for us to design and understand and communicate. This thing that you're fighting here is a line of these gluttonies that are just shelling you like crazy, while, like you said, while you're trying to dodge. You're trying to dodge the Goblin Sharks if they detect you, which they will, and then clean up with the Dagger Tooths. So the main thing I'm curious about, actually, let me ask you, Larry. Do you feel like this target that you played is pretty learnable, or do you think that it's kind of is what it is.
So it took me a while to learn it, and you know, I joined the preview a little later than some others, and maybe I should have just watched a few people first, because it took me a while to sort of see what was going on with the gluttonies, and see how those goblin sharks were working, and you know, really understand that, yeah, I'm going to be detected, so just live with it. You know, this target took longer to learn than other ones, but and I'll say I lost my fleet a lot of times. The first time I did this target, I lost my fleet 4 times before I was able to beat it. And if I was in a raid situation where I was spending gold to repair my fleet every time, I'd be getting pretty frustrated.
Yes, and so that feedback actually was given to us by several people around that kind of thing, and so we've actually, tuned down the projectile speed of those gluttonies, because what we want to do is we want to provide pressure to move, not, you know, this kind of heart-stopping, every time they fire, you've got to completely abandon everything you're doing and run away. We didn't want that. The other thing we did is we made the map a little bit larger, so that way you have room to do what skirmish is about, which is moving around and kiting and stuff like that. But that's good to hear. That the fastest time, the best repair bill we've gotten internally is 55 minutes, and that was with no charged armors, by the way. So it can be done. It can be learned. But
yeah, one of the things I thought was really cool about this target was that those mortars did damage the scourge targets as well. So if they were chasing me and they were sailing through the mortars, they would get damage. I really appreciate it.
That's cool. That's the first time that's ever happened. Yeah, because you know, that adds if that's going to hold up throughout.
Well, it didn't hit them nearly as bad as they hit us.
Yeah,
but
they got 95% resistance, right?
I guess, but I really did appreciate seeing that little bit of red on there.
Yeah, we the specific designer who made these targets, or this target, well, the targets you're going to see, there's a lot of little tricks in there. I'm definitely not going to talk about them on the show because I want you guys to find them. There's more than that, but yeah,
he's had a lot of fun doing that and talking about that in the office and watching alternate between being ecstatic and ready to pull his hair out over them.
Oh yeah, because I'd love to, you know, I mean, with the current raid cycle, dragging those ships through the corrosive fields, and then, you know, what do you guys call the volcano buildings, you know, all that kind of stuff. You could drag the enemy through that, and that would be, I think a lot of people would find that amusing. But yeah, you know, especially because, yeah, I think once you take these targets, these assault targets, to something we're supposed to do every day, you need to get rid of that volcano thing. I mean, in my opinion, because it's random at times, you know, because even if you have even if you have the anti-mortar, every once in a while it gets through, but when it does get through, now you're talking like 6 hours of damage, because it doesn't appear to be one of the preordained damage types. So if you're filled up with charged armors, you're still taking a ton of damage.
You know what? I hear you, and I'm going to bring that to the designers, because that's a good point. The randomness is cool when we're doing an event. In my mind, the randomness is not cool when it's just this thing you do every day. I get it. I hear you.
Cool. Yeah.
Not to try to rush it along, but we are at about 4:25 right now, so we got about 5 minutes or so left.
Okay.
All right, so let's move.
Well, you went 6 minutes over last time, so we'll call it 11 minutes.
We'll see.
Okay. We'll go.
Let's skip the bus, because I want to.
Well, I have one question on the bus.
All right.
I have one question on the bus. The bus. Click it one more time.
I like the flames.
Yeah, the flames are great. I mean, that's that, and the explosive range of plus 25% gets us out to 112.5 with just mortar, you know, with the mortars that we have, and that's makes everybody snipeable. And this may you know, key into our next slide, which deals with OP10. But I just wanted to throw that out there, that the 112.5 range for mortars is the longest that we've seen for, you know, because you can spot with them, you can do all sorts of stuff, but I was just throwing that out there because I thought that was an interesting part of it, besides the flames.
Yes. The way to put it is sloths are about to get really strong, and if you happen to enjoy the sloth, it's definitely going to be a lot better. But the sniping is going to have a solution, and you're right, it is the next slide.
Okay. Because someone might have already scrapped 2 of the sloths they built. Just saying.
Well, the sloths never had their day because of the mutagluts. The mutagluts just took the sloth's day in the glory, in the sunshine, and took it away.
It did.
I built 4, and I never finished 2 of them. So the 2 I never finished, I scrapped because I figured I'd just never finish them. But oh well, that's on me.
Yeah,
all right, so let's talk Outpost 10. You know, I wanted to mention we saw new turrets. We decided to not use your time to talk about them, but we do want to talk about Outpost 10. So have at it.
Yep. So Outpost 10, actually the very first design decision that I was part of making when I joined this team almost a year ago was I want to put a giant gun on top of the outpost. And so that is Outpost 10. So Outpost 10 has the following bits. Yeah, it's a new outpost level and all the kind of the crap that goes with that. And so like the warehouse level and stuff like that. And the new wall. We're doing a larger base footprint. This is something that we internally have been really frustrated about, that bases have become very boring in their design, defense design, because now players are up against 2 realities, one of which is there are things that can outrange their defenses and get inside, and that there's just not enough room for you to be able to lay out your tiles appropriately. So we're extending the base footprint out 3 tiles in every direction. So that's good for the attacker and that's good for the defender. It's good for the attacker because it'll give you some room to run around. It'll be good for the defender because we are already testing some new, not quite only a spiral base designs, and they seem to be working okay.
My R is not going to be viable.
No, your R is never going to be viable.
Okay, so what's going to happen is both the white line, both the white line and the total size of your base is going to get increased. Is that right?
Both the white and
the white line and the total, like where people enter. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and so so that's part of your sniping solution is you're going to be able to force players to move out a little bit further because we're also dropping a bunch of new tiles. I originally typed in a number. It is in flux because, to be honest, our engine, is a concern, right? It's an older engine, so we want to make sure that when we dump a bunch of new tiles on you, we don't break your base. So we're actually in final testing on that, but the number is around 30. So it's just a crap ton of new tiles. Yeah. And we need to do that because if we're going to give you a larger base footprint without a bunch of new tiles, then it's why are we even doing this? So about 30 new tiles. Please don't hold us to that number. We're going to give you basically we're trying to
number TBD.
Final number we're going to give you as many as we freaking can. That's kind of where we're at with that.
All right. Well, we appreciate the swag at it, certainly.
Yeah. And now we have a a unit to use for crap ton. So we're happy.
There you go. Doing 30 tiles.
You have to show them as well?
But I don't think I want to talk about who they are yet. I just want to say there are 2 new channel defense traps, so everyone's not going to be just that same wall. One of which, I guess I will tease, one of which is not a wall, but it's more like a minefield you have to go through. So it will not stop players from passing through, but it will do really nasty things to them should they choose to. So nice. That's kind of an interesting thing going on there. I'm working my way up because this is the big news. Outpost 10 has what we call the Omega Cannon. It is it's the first basically turret for your outpost, and it is it lives up to its name. It is a gigantic Gatling gun. It fires concussive. Right now the art isn't hooked up, so it's shooting little blue or pink blobs, which is also pretty damn hilarious. It's strong, guys. So keep that in mind. For your base attacks, that we are moving towards really amping up people's defense. And so obviously at the beginning of this, when we drop all this, no one's going to have them, and then people are going to move into them. So your concerns with the sloth will start to go away. I would recommend you enjoy them while you can, because we did intend for the sloth to be pretty strong for a little bit.
Okay, and how long is that?
Outpost 10 is coming almost immediately after the event.
Okay.
That's a timetable I can give you. There's a small chance it might slip from the week that we intend, but it will be really close to the September event.
Soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's everybody was projecting November, December, but yeah, this is coming much faster than we expected.
Right, and so there's the obvious question of content overload. We have a different problem we're trying to solve with this, which is we can't end a tier until we do an outpost. That's our internal rule. We did a lot of discussing, and we want to get us out of kind of the messiness that we're in right now and into something that's more been properly designed and vetted and planned out. And so we needed to move the tier basically up a little bit. And also we are looking at some structural changes to 2018 that, the sooner we get you guys into the outpost, the better. So that's why it's come a lot sooner.
Is it all coming at once, or is it going to be a phase thing, or how is this going to work? Is it all going to drop? Is it all going to drop at the same update?
At least 2 distinct releases, but what we're doing the extra hours on right now is trying to make sure that as much of the stuff comes out at the same release as possible in one group, and then we have like everything else that could be in the next one, and then as we complete them, we move them up into the same release. But we still have a bunch of stuff in the next release after it, and even the next release after that, because we also Outpost 10's pretty damn important. So we've got just about everyone who can test or has the ability to look at this stuff doing that, because we're pretty concerned about making sure that this one comes out clean.
Okay. And I know you guys are running up against the time thing, and so there was one other question or one other issue we're going to discuss was how are people going to get VXP for their courages?
There's one we're going to sell you some Courage VXP tokens.
Okay.
But that's not the only way. I'm sorry. I felt like I wanted to say that to be funny, but I just realized that's the wrong thing to say. But in addition to selling this stuff, that's what we do for a living. The other thing that we're going to be doing is we are really looking hard at how to help defenders level up VXP. We've got things coming. Bounty is where you look for that stuff. So one of the no-brainers that I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not 1,000,000% sure, but I did be part of the plan that said, yeah, there's Courage VXP tokens in the Bounty prize store for pretty cheap, because we want to make sure that you can VXP those guys up. But right now we don't have an immediate gameplay solution. But
Jeff, can I ask a question on that?
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. Hi guys, welcome to the crib. Sorry I'm running late. I always do, coming home from work. Is there any way at all to morph that into the Mega Hull system where we researched VXP there? There
is. We have a plan for when we put that stuff in. You know what? The plan's worth review, because you guys are talking about the Courage. The Courage has been on my mind. We don't, it's not tomorrow that this is going to happen. So I'm kind of curious when it is. And I'll get back to you, Hefe, with when we think we're going to do some Courage stuff for you guys, because
okay, yeah, because I've been wondering about it, because there's besides VXP weekend, and we saw people with the rages have a hard time, and now we got something that doesn't move, assuming the next VXP target is going to be what we've seen before, and it's going to time out. It's not going to be pretty. As far as what I expect is going to happen in VXP weekend with the Courages, at least if you have the launcher, the throwers on. I'm not sure how the launchers are going to do, but we've seen how the throwers have done historically.
What I was thinking is, is there a way to rename the Justice token to a Defender token? That way you could use it broad spectrum.
We have the tech for that. We don't have a plan right now to do that. And it's not because of any deviousness or anything like that. It's just we don't have a plan for that because we want to keep people focused on specific holes for a little while. And that means that we should be getting that courage stuff into you guys.
I was going to say that should be one of them because it's the ultimate defender at this point in time.
It is. It is. Tell you what, let's go a couple more minutes off and go through that bounty slide real quick.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
Here, wait. And sorry, there we go. Yeah,
Sorry.
we wanted to, well, it's a empty slide. So,
oh yeah.
So we did want to talk about bounty a little bit. You know, the last bounty was kind of a rough experience for a lot of players. You guys know it. We know it. But I did want to hear your opinions on it and what you thought of it and what you think you're going to change or keep going forward. So have at it.
Yeah, I guess I think that the first really big thing is I want to thank everyone who participated in the first season of Bounty. We know there's a whole bunch of rough spots in that, and a lot of them in the end turned out to be display issues for us. And
Right.
as strange as that's going to sound, like all of the underlying tech mostly worked the way it was, except for showing a lot of the information. So that's one of the things that I know everyone had a lot of hard time of finding the targets they wanted to, or when we got the store open and they made a purchase and the bounty readjusted to the proper amount that was displayed wrong. In the end, the whole back end of it did function
Pretty well. Minimal bugs there. It was a hurricane of BS though on the player facing side, and I was actually in there the whole weekend, and the word furious comes to mind about how it actually played out. Mostly because the big thing is when you got something new, this is the biggest thing we've built in a very long time on Battle Pirates, certainly since I've come here. And you know, these things are built in pieces, they're integrated with each other, and then there's like a final integration step, and sometimes that can go wrong and it can take a little while to find out. So that's the tech reason. It's kind of a crappy reason, but that's what happened. So along the way though, we did, you know, we capture a bunch of data about the game, and we captured the data we wanted. And we learned a lot about how you guys PvP, by the way. Some of you people are just monsters. Oh yeah. Some of you people are just.
Are you talking about Larry hitting all the 52s?
Well, someone once told me that there's two types of people that do PvP content in any sort of game. You have people that derive content or their contentment from doing well, and other people that derive their contentment from taking things away from other people. And I think we really highlighted that second group here of if the ability to walk in and just sort of like, you know what, I'm going to take that. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of appeal to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think okay. So what were our goals? Was kind of your question. Our goal was we wanted a PvP event, is what we wanted, especially because we split out PvP from PvE, so it's just weird having PvP be in there. And then the other part of it was what is a PvP event? Now, when we started, it was crush one another, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And as we got to talking and as we listened to you guys, what we also discovered is there's a lot of PvP curious, as I call you people, where they're out there, they want to do PvP. They haven't invested enough into PvP to really have a good winning streak, which helps you want to do more PvP. And there's also just a lot of like people, you know, one of the things I do, and you should all be warned, is I pick a random player every day and load up their base and go through all their stuff. And let me tell you, your Conqueror builds in general, players are bad, just bad Conqueror builds. So, but you don't get better at building a Conqueror until you throw it at something. And player bases are either way too easy or way too hard for someone who's PvP curious. So we put in these PvE versions of these targets. While we did that, we realized, well, wait a minute, what do we really want you to do? We sold you guys a bunch of Conqueror holes. And so we want you to have a reason to use your Conqueror holes. So we made the PvE section of it grindy, but totally doable. If you want the low-level prizes, you can just grind it out and never worry about, you know, being part of the hurricane going above you. But if you want the big prizes, you're going to absolutely have to PvP. And that seems like the right balance. So that's what we're going to go into Bounty 2 with, that kind of mentality.
And do you want to talk about what sort of cadence we're shooting for on this as well?
Please.
The monthly cadence?
Yeah.
Monthly cadence, just like the event. But we're monitoring that stuff closely. So how we will monitor that is what we don't want you guys to come back to us and say is, you know what, I'm exhausted from the raid, and then the bounty comes, and now I just hate this game because it's just, all raid all the time. That's not what we want. We will adjust the timing of the bounty and the kind of the general pricing of what happens in the bounty to make it the little sibling of the main raid. The raid is still everything.
Entertaining, engaging, but we don't want you coming in on like Monday morning with a bottle of Gatorade saying, I haven't slept for a week.
Yeah.
How about a mechanic question?
I'm sorry?
Go
How
ahead,
about a
Rob.
question about the mechanics?
Sure,
what
go
do you
ahead.
mean?
The bubbles and how they worked and how people could keep their bases from being bubbled while they're out hitting everybody and taking everything.
Sure.
It's kind of. Go ahead.
No, why don't you go ahead and finish your thought?
I was going to say, kind of an unfair situation to where the people that have the bounty don't repair their base. They're hoarding the currency to where people can't go get it. So while you're talking about you want us to go out and smash people, people that work that mechanic or game that mechanic are keeping the rest of us from being able to go out and earn bounty, which would then be redistributed.
Yep. I can't tell you the specifics of the plan, but you have nailed what all our discussions on bounty is about, which is this. When you have a PvP event, the players are the economy. And so when we do a PvE event, it's very easy for us to control that. You guys see it all the time with, the points numbers change, the targets change. It's, this is all easy for us to calculate. Well, not easy, but it's calculable. When players are involved, it's not. But we did know going in that if players can't hit each other, then there's not a bounty system. So I can't get into specifics, but I will say bubble times have been adjusted to be a little bit more friendly. Costs have been adjusted to be a little more friendly. And there are incentives in place to make you want to pop your bubble. How's that sound?
Okay. Yeah.
One of the things that I noticed was that if the dock repaired a lot quicker, it made people have to come back in and defend their base because they were going to lose bounty if somebody could just go and hit the dock.
Yeah.
So if it repairs quicker on every base, like a 30-minute or 45, whatever it is, whatever time you select, at least they have to get back in the game. They have to make their bounty available.
I hear you. Yes. And by the way, the commentary that I'm seeing about not enjoying necessarily fighting in bounty, but enjoying defending. Bounty 2 isn't going to help you with that. Bounty 3, since we planned this stuff ahead, is one of the things we're going to do is we're going to reward good defense. We just haven't figured out a way to do it without people being able to cheat. And so stay tuned. But yeah, the base defense part is not being rewarded, and that's kind of crappy.
I guess the other good thing to point at this point, I've sat in a bunch of these meetings and watching like what worked with Bounty 1, what didn't work with Bounty 1, where do we want to go? And then it's become the path of how to get there. And Bounty 2 is a step in the right direction. Bounty 3 is going to continue that path, and we're on an evolution. It's not going to be one and done.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bounty 2 is going to be a testing zone for Bounty 3, right? Because otherwise it sounds like Rampage is saying that we know Bounty 3 is going to be a good thing. We're not so sure about Bounty 2.
Bounty 20 is going to be freaking amazing.
All right.
Let me say this another way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me say this another way. Yeah, we're definitely not saying that. We're saying if you look back to the raid. So actually, what's funny is we have some people here at the studio who were here, have been here since the day we've turned on the servers. I went and talked to them when Bounty 1 was doing what it was doing, and the forums were, blowing up, and I was, thinking about drinking heavily in the middle of the day and all that. What I did, well, when I have work to do, it's a bad idea. So I went and found some people. Yeah. I want that. Okay. So what I did is I asked about how the raid went. Now I'm all distracted. I asked how the raid went back in the day, and what I was told is they never felt like they had hit what they wanted to do in the first 10 raids, the first 10 months that they did that, and a couple times it brought the game down for once for a day or something like that. The stories change. They remember it differently, but it sounded like
The oral traditions are
it's like the oral tradition, the legends that are told. So what we're saying is not Bounty 2 is going to be a crappy version of Bounty 3, and Bounty 3 is going to no. And what we're saying is we think we know what we want with what we got to give a good experience, period. And that is Bounty 2. And specifically that experience is you didn't see what we wanted you to see in Bounty 1. So let's fix that crap and make that work. Also, we saw some obvious changes we can make on the design side and the economy and stuff like that to help some of the problems like we were talking about. But then along the way, there are bigger ticket items that will make Bounty a little bit more fun. And so those don't happen on a 2-week scale or on a 1-month scale. They happen on a longer scale. So we got to get those trains moving down the track. So when we say we got something coming in Bounty 3, it's not that Bounty 2 is going to be crap. It's going to the next
progression.
Yeah.
All right.
And you
Cool.
think about how we change the event.
Okay.
Or the raid.
No, that makes complete sense to me. It's just sort of, and I'm sure you guys are, I mean, we're willing to talk longer. I just know that we've pushed you guys over your
I'm seeing people that want to come in. So we got to get going, guys.
All right. We really appreciate the time you took. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you back anytime. And
Right on.
enjoy your evening.
And thanks, come on. And we're going to talk about which of the two of you looks more piratey while you guys are gone. So,
that's easy.
There's no question.
oh,
There's no question.
who looks more piratey?
Like I'm.
Where's Mike Jackson?
I mean, well,
GDA looks like the cook.
I'll get on later. I think I look more piratey than,
Oh, that is like.
Rampage.
I'll tell you this.
Oh, yeah.
Next time I come in, I'm wearing my pirate.
GDA, you look like the cook. Come on.
I kind of do, don't I?
Yeah, you're the cookie.
I have no reason about what I look like.
We'll put a hat on him and
Page is the captain.
Hey guys, cheers. By the way,
Thanks, guys.
we gotta get going.
thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure the community does. Thank you.
Totally. All right. Well, that was fun. I appreciated the time they took, and it was a good conversation.
Yeah.
All right. So, do we want to get back to slides, or?
I think we're running towards the end of the slides. I mean, the only thing I think that we had no. Yeah, we got a couple more.
We didn't talk about the.
Yeah, we got that, and I still haven't. I mean, eventually we may have to go to you getting on the forum because I didn't want to show all the prizes. I get really bored putting together the slides associated with 3,000 prizes.
I have faith in our viewers. If they want to go to the forums and see the full prize list, they can go to the forums and see the full prize list. So,
yeah.
Because we do have the smartest viewers of any of the Battle Pirates shows. I'm positive of that.
So a question: how much did they lower down Tier 7, the 100? Wasn't that 2 million last time?
It was 2.5, I think. The total is higher.
Well, it's because of the bonus.
So I think what they found is, and it would have been nice to get kick-size view on it, but I think we had to choose our time wisely, and I think we did. But so I think the 100 is actually a pretty easy target for people with decent Phoenix fleets or decent Skyfire fleets, and the change in the points reflects that. And now they made this new 106 that's going to be harder. They had some statements about that it's a Skyfire target, but we have gotten some clarification that you'll still be able to do it with Phoenixes. So I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what this looks like.
The way that it was explained best is that your 106 or your Skyfires will perform better in the 106s than they did the 103s.
Yeah. Because Skyfires are kind of really rough in those 103s, weren't they?
Yeah, and they're slow. It's just a speed issue.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say on this page? Yeah.
Good to move.
All right.
Yep.
Here we go. So we got some new limited turrets. We've got 3 of them, if I recall. We've got this epic cataclysm mortar. So not just a cat or an angry cat, but an epic cat. Lots of power, lots of damage. I don't know what else do you want to say about this one. Here, I think you got the comparison here, so that'll work. So we got the range better, damage. Actually, it's not a huge bump in damage, but when you're talking against deflection, you know, a little change can mean a lot, because it's not like, you know, this is a 25% increase, but you know, if they deflect a lot of it, then it could be like 100% increase. So
based on what we're seeing on the range, obviously the epic cataclysm is going to be better for a bigger footprint, because you're going to have a shorter small end range, so you're not going to be locked out of firing on people that are close to the base.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because we gotta look at these new turrets in the context of new base designs coming really soon.
It did look like the projectile speed was faster on this one from the video.
All right, we'll go to the next one.
But I doubt you'll be able to fit any of these turrets. And
you can't right now. I'm out of power.
Yeah. So, but I think you gotta keep. It was really useful, I think, that Kickside that these guys did say that the Outpost upgrade is coming soon. I think it's pretty clear that's going to come with more power. So you don't want to take any special, you know, measures to shoehorn these things in, right? You'd probably be better off just waiting to get your Outpost upgraded, and then build these things. So elite countermeasure turret. So a new countermeasure. It's a splash countermeasure. So low splash number, but it means that flak evasion doesn't take effect. So I think this might end up being a pretty good. I mean, look at this: reload time 0.8, salvo 0.9.
Well, you start putting splash vessels on there, you're going to start peeling off, you know, missiles and, you know, big salvos from the sloth coming in.
Yep. All right, so we like this.
And it looks good. Like my big question is, will it work against the muddle missiles? Like if I have 5 of these in a row, will it take out most of the muddle missiles that are coming in?
If you put the splash features on there, it should, because it'll take out more than muddles at a time.
It's interesting though.
Yeah,
but the question that I have is, is it kind of like the duality where it will fire at 2 different types of weapons at the same time, or will it specifically pick missiles over mortars, or the other way around?
Fair question.
That's an interesting question.
Because I mean that could affect base hitting strategies.
All right. Well, I think it'll be fun. I mean, it feels like base countermeasures are just always overwhelmed. So it'll be interesting to know whether you can whether these will be effective, or whether you can load a few and have them be effective. Because I don't know if we've ever had a real effective base countermeasure.
The Dracoaxle was good for a while when the Liberators were going on a rampage. Early in the year.
All right. Cool. And then the cannibal Wendigo that eats its own, I guess.
I just hope it works.
A lot of text here, but it actually really feels like the previous Wendigo, right? Cryo field and Shockwave.
Actually, it's worth to note that both the epic mortar and this are in the retrofit lab.
Yeah. Yep. Good
Already?
point.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're both in there.
Wow.
Okay, so gonna compare. You know, the Wendigo was really, I think even when it was brand new, it really wasn't about the damage. It was about the fields and the slowdowns. Now you've got some real damage coming out of this weapon, along with the debuff field.
Well, and the shockwave damage too.
Yeah. Same story there.
Yeah. I mean, the Windigo historically has always been a cannibal, so that part I didn't quite understand. But yeah, the Windigo. Have you ever Googled a Windigo?
No.
Okay, it's a Algonquin, something to keep your kids up at night. It's the cannibal that's going to come eat you.
Oh, nice.
Okay, just so you know. But yeah, it's the transition from one to another. I mean, the damage probably in this day and age doesn't really matter that much, besides the shockwave. But yeah, the reduction in the deflection is huge.
Especially if you start putting the 5 of them out there.
Oh, does the shockwave get the reduction with turrets?
Somebody just saw the aura cap.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you could have 5 of these stacked up. Wow.
That'd give you what, 3,500 ballistic deflection, or taking off 3,500 ballistic.
Interesting.
Would be 2,500.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen if this is in the retro lab?
Yes, it is.
Well, it is, and that's why the reload time is kind of weird.
Okay. Oh yeah, because I have it in the retro lab. I'm sorry, I put that up there. So okay.
Yeah.
Do you see they also pulled off the resonance trigger?
Oh.
I like it when Larry sees this and he goes, "Oh."
Well,
he sees something and goes, "Oh."
Oh,
yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because there's also the issue of did they, because we know
that there or not.
Yeah, because sometimes we know later that things will get added or not show up in a blueprint that should have been.
This one probably shouldn't happen because it's coming out tomorrow. We win it tomorrow.
Well, yeah, but if it's a visual thing on the blueprint that they just didn't put the stat on there, then they can just add it. It's not a big deal.
Well, I understand, but at this point in time, they shouldn't be having errors like that.
Yep. All right. We done with this one?
Yeah.
No more surprises for me?
No. Oh! I think somebody's goosing you, Prof.
Yeah, I wish. Hey, that's the end of the slides.
All right. Okay. Now I get to go back and watch the show.
Well, we can open up the
forum and
after show. I don't know.
Or you could open the. Do you want to go through the slides or all the prizes and talk about them like everybody does?
No, they're good. They can find them in there.
I'm kind of disappointed in the prize list. They have the lockdown rockets, which I've been wanting for months now.
Okay,
they're never there. And then the turret armors, like the D4R, the D4M. X, all that stuff. We never get those.
That's cool. Hey, one thing that's worth griping about though is they reduced the number of tokens you can buy.
Yeah,
down to 2 days. That's I should have asked that. Yeah, because
I'm kind of
originally it was 11 days.
Well, yeah.
Well, the short day raids always had the 5 days total or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And the 6 days always had more, and this time it doesn't.
Got less. So I think it's going to be a real challenge to even get 3 blank hulls out for, 5 days, and I brought 7 days into the. It's going to be tight to get 3 hulls blank into VXP weekend.
Unless you coin a little bit. Maybe a
little
bit.
but I want to do that.
You could get 5. You could get 5 if you coin a little bit.
It's a little bit.
It depends on your definition of little bit. I mean, even a day is $5, so it's it gets expensive quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
The build time is kind of rough too, because a full build is like 17, 18 days.
Yeah, with charged, you're going to be out there. You're going to be close to 20, I think, if you do 2 of each charged.
Yeah. And the larger issue, the other issue that I know that I've been asked about before was the 100 and the 106. As far as, and we didn't really get on them related to that, but the fact that you basically need both in the assault.
Well,
in order to do well, but
that's kind of normal now, honestly.
Yeah, but we don't have the time anymore to do that.
Yeah.
Coin equals time.
If we're building conquerors as well for bounty.
Did they talk about
we're going to build though?
Conqueror shipyard? I read somewhere they were supposed to talk about that.
Oh Lord.
Nope, not for us. Maybe elsewhere. They're doing the grand tour, all the shows this week, which is actually a cool thing. But yeah. All right, Hefe, you post that link.
I can't because you're running the show. I asked you to do it.
All right, so let's see. So I got to go to like Facebook and the crib. Jeez.
No,
you gotta go to YouTube.
I gotta get YouTube.
I could post it. I guess.
No, you
it won't let me.
Yeah, you can't post it because you can make me a moderator.
Isn't it the same link that I sent you though?
Yes, but I'm not a moderator.
Yeah, that's true.
When I run the show, I do that all the time.
Oh, you just post it in chat.
Yeah, on the right hand side.
Yeah, well, that's easy.
Yeah, you can do that easy. Yeah.
All right. Wait, is that the right link?
Wrong chat.
Wrong chat.
I have to go to freaking YouTube.
You gotta go to YouTube, yeah.
Oh my god. I have to see comments.
So do we call him noob at this point?
Yeah, I'm a noob to hosting the show, so that's fine. You can call me noob. All right, let's see. All right, I am. Wait. Why am I getting echo? Oh, okay. Double noob because I went to YouTube and forgot to mute myself.
Okay. Yeah. And all we're going to talk about in the after show and afterwards is sous vide devices.
What a noob I am.
Did you get a new sous vide device?
I did. And
what did you get?
I got the Anova because as of Sunday, they dropped the price of both of them by $30.
So you can get them for about $60 now?
No,
it's 119.
119 for the Bluetooth, and then what is it? 169 for the Wi-Fi. I'm not sure that I need to be like in a different country. And
I was going to ask you a question about the Wi-Fi. So you're going to take this steak, you're going to put it in the bag, you're going to set it in the water. How long is it going to last before you decide, hey, I better turn this on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find the Wi-Fi or the Bluetooth actually useless on that device. I just set the wheel to the temperature and push start. I don't understand why I need Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Yeah, in case you wanted to turn it on if you were in a different country or whatever, then you can get it all figured out from a distance.
I want a sous vide so bad.
I'm starting to buy it. I mean, at 119, I don't think you're going to see a better price for a while.
I think we need to do a special off-battle Pirates show about sous vide, and you guys need to show your techniques.
I'll tell you what, man. I had some pork shoulder actually for dinner tonight that I had sous vide. So good.
Where do you sear it? Where do you get your color from?
So I don't sear it. Okay, when I do the pulled pork shoulder, it's like a barbecue. So I don't even sear it. I just throw it in the bag for a day. This time I used some paprika, sage, and liquid smoke.
Yep.
And
so that gets you your smoke flavor.
Yep. And I got real liquid smoke from this dude who smokes his own spices. So it's not like a chemical. It's actual smoke that this guy collected. And yeah, that was good.
I'm jealous. It's got to look sick coming out of the bag. I mean, I've seen that.
Well, yeah. When you do a steak and it comes out of the bag, it does. It looks kind of
So
sick.
you have to sear it. So what are you using? You using a blowtorch? You using a infrared sear machine?
No, I just put a cast iron pan on the side burner of my grill, or actually right at the top of my grill, and get it as hot as I can. I would like a blowtorch.
Hey, honey, look at this. Hold my beer.
I'm tempted to use my heat gun. I haven't done it yet because that comes out at 1400.
Yeah, that's not
that pretty hot.
That's
no, 1400.
You need to get one of those infrared sears that you can put on your big outdoor gas grill, and find a way to use it because that would be quicker.
Okay, so I wanted to have the beer conversation. This is Mad Tree
Dreamsicle.
Mad Tree Dreamsicle. Okay, now what happened was last year on April Fools, they put out this as an April Fool's joke. They said, "Hey, we're gonna make a Dreamsicle beer with an octopus and ice cream cones and whatever." And people were like, "Oh, that sounds good. You should do that." So they actually did it, and it's like a kind of a lightish beer, and then it tastes like vanilla and orange.
Wow.
And it's kind of fruity. I wouldn't buy this all the time, but it's kind of fun. So yeah,
that just sounds so wrong. I mean, why don't you just take and melt down the Dreamsicle and put your little vodka in there and have something real?
Well, you could do that, but
yeah, even Dreamsicle doesn't sound like it would have gone well with the pork shoulder. That sounds so wrong.
Yeah. That you need a real beer. I mean, I'm not gonna go around saying, "Hey, I'm drinking Dreamsicle. Look at me, I'm a badass."
Do you have that for the kids?
I accept that is not a real beer. So, yeah. But it's a fun change of pace. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought I saw Dreamsicle in that can, and I went, "Oh my god, I'm gonna be sick."
I was talking to a guy at work and then like he had it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I thought it tasted too much like beer, so I put a bunch of orange juice in it," and I like almost vomited. I was like,
"Oh, whoa."
He's not a beer drinker.
Yeah. Larry, did you post the link?
I did. We have.
Okay.
Yeah, we picked up a couple.
Yeah, we got a couple visitors.
Okay. Post it again because it goes up.
Heffy, do you like to micromanage much?
What? I'm used to doing it. I'm used to doing this, so I'm like,
Yeah, you let go of your baby. Now you're micromanaging.
No, I didn't have internet until 20-something minutes before the show started, and I'm like, I didn't want the show to go down in the middle of everything in case I lost the internet again.
I understand.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to continuity, whatever. Folks.
Micromanage. That's fine.
Whatever.
All right. So anyway, welcome Royal and Big Bad John, and we're still live, so you're still famous for a little while longer until we decide to stop the show. But what's going on, guys?
Say hello.
I just find it very interesting, the video that Kicks have just put out.
Oh,
which one's that?
The raid video?
Yeah, quite a lot of useful information. Yeah,
so you mean like the preview on the blueprints or the preview on these assault targets?
I missed the first bit, so I missed the assault target ones.
Oh, you're talking about coming on the show today, our show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just before this.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm glad to see Op 10's out because I'm out of base power.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are.
A lot of people ran out. I had some spare until these new portals, and then that took me right up to the edge.
I think I've got six base power left. 6. That's it.
Nice plan.
That's great management if you can keep it down to 6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I've got a level 2 portal with the gate on, and a level 1 with the gate on. I can't do level 2 on the other one because I've got no base power.
I've got 2 level 2s with 1 gate.
Me as well. I mean, you can always put like the older turrets around like your base, because so far from what I've seen in base defenses, like if you don't have your turrets with like fire support fields and stuff like that, you're not doing damage to these newer fleets. So I mean, you could probably sacrifice more of your turrets and just put like.
I mean, to get the rampart on the level 2 portal, I had to put, I think it was 4. I can't even remember what they're called now. The old ballistic one.
Blunderbuss?
No.
Yeah, the blunderbuss.
No, the old one.
Howitzer.
Jeff?
Howitzer.
This.
I had to put Howitzer 1 on 3 of my turrets.
Oh wow.
To get the base to drop down so I could put the gates in.
I'm not sure that. Well, I guess it depends on what you took off, but
It was only the blunderbuss anyway, because there was only short range anyway, and everything nowadays is long range, and they just come in and just annihilate it before they get there anyway. Because they're on the outside of the base. See, I've got 3 turrets on the outside of the base. The rest are on the island or on water.
all right.
Okay. Well, I think we're probably running down to the point where we should probably go to the after show, unless Holsch wants to talk about Tom Savage is the next quarterback for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, he's almost as bad as Scott Tolzien.
Oh yeah. Where the fuck is Kaepernick? Yeah. Oh my God.
Barry
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick.
Him.
Barry Kaepernick.
Barry Kaepernick, because these guys are so fucking wonderful.
Dude, I would take a second grader over Kaepernick.
Well, it doesn't relate to the NFL, but yeah.
Anyway,
that's a whole.
The one question I wanted to get into before the show disappears is, how do you guys feel pre-raid? You like what they're doing?
I'm pretty confident in my fleet.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I assume I should be with like 4 charged armors and all these Manus. Yeah, I assume I should be.
If not, we got like 10 days worth of Phoenix and Skyfire tokens in the raid. Just get those and refit them with the new Manus or whatnot.
I'm like 80% Manus on my fleet.
Already? So I just went halfway.
Yeah, I'm at about 80% of mine. So I mean, if it doesn't work, then I'll be anxious. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Menace, Hands of Fate.
Yeah.
It
is nice.
Science Theater 3000 anyway. That's one of the movies they did. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop the show. Thank you for watching, everybody. And the link is still in the chat. So join the after show, and we will see you next week. Good luck in the raid.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
Thanks, people, for showing up, and thanks for Kixeye for bringing the people.
Agreed. All right.